What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm here with JC at WR Experts.
Guys, welcome back. Today we're going to demonstrate Walnut blasting on this 2018 WRX. We'll show you the before and after of how the intake chambers look. And the purpose of doing this is because this is a direct injection motor. So your valves start to get caked up.
So if you guys want the walnut blasting done, make sure to check out WR Experts Auto Works on Facebook and Instagram. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
Alright guys, we're going to get started by removing the intake manifold so we can access the intake chambers. The only thing that was already done on this that I will be demonstrating is the top mount intercooler that you need to remove. But just to give you an idea, it's just you have to remove a clamp which is an 8mm and this clamp, and then you'll have two 12mm bolts here attached to a bracket. On this side it's also a 12 and a 12 here. Alright, let's get started with the manifold.
Reminder to also disconnect the battery. So all the other stuff that's removed from the car is because they're doing more work to the car, but we're just demonstrating the walnut blasting. So for the walnut blasting specifically, you would just need to remove the intercooler and everything he's about to remove right now.
Alright, I'm going to start off by removing. You have four 12mm bolts holding the manifold down to the TGVs on each side. I'm going to go ahead and break them loose first. That way you don't strip them by using power tools. Once I break them loose, go ahead and remove them. If you have problems reaching these, you could also use a magnet just to get them out. It helps to have small hands. Alright, on this side, to access one of the bolts, you're going to have to remove this hose. I usually just pull it off, it's not on that tight. Or if you need pliers to remove it, just move this out of the way. And same thing, same four bolts, you want to remove them. Go ahead and remove these two clips. Unclip the map sensor. Then you're going to want to remove the brake booster line. I find it easier detaching it from the manifold rather than taking off from the brake booster. Just give it a wiggle and it should come out. And just set it to the side. Now we're going to remove the fuel line. Just push this clip up, and then you want to get some pliers. Squeeze here gently and pull back. I would warn you, I would wait at least half an hour before you pull this line off so there's no pressure in the line, and I would use a rag just in case that you have some pressure and you're being impatient. This car's been sitting for a while, so we had no pressure in the line. Then you want to remove the evap line, just twist it a little bit and pull back. Alright, next we're going to remove the shield. So you have this clip right here, you have 45-degree pliers, just squeeze it and pull up. Then you have a 12mm bolt right here on the side. And you have one more bolt on the side. It's also a 12. Set this to the side. Alright, next we're going to remove a part of the EGR unit. So you have two bolts, two 12mm bolts that go directly into the manifold. Then you have two more 12mm bolts that go into the EGR unit itself. If you haven't already removed the EGR unit and you want to upgrade and you're in a state that allows it, this would be a good time to do it. The bottom one's a little trickier to get. You might need an extension to reach it. Now you can take out the EGR pipe and just set it to the side. When you take it out, there's a gasket that goes on the side to the EGR block. Just make sure that you don't misplace it. Now you're going to want to loosen up the line that goes from the crank case to the intake manifold. You could either remove it from the manifold or from the crank. I prefer to do it from the crank case. That was terrible. So it's just a clip, remove it, twist to loosen her up and pull up. And just leave it there and it'll come out with the manifold when we get there. This hose right here, and it connects down here to the crankcase. Sorry. Next, you want to remove this connection that goes to the throttle body. So clip it, set it to the side. Now just remove this clip, also attached to the manifold. Just move it forward. Next, this part is optional, removing the charge pipe. If you do remove it, it will make it a lot easier to do so. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it because I'm doing a front mount intercooler install on it anyways. So to start off, there's two 12mm bolts that's holding the charge pipe onto the turbo. It's gonna be a little tricky to see, but let's see if JJ can get in here and show you. I have one on this side, one to the right, and one right there. It's like right next to the blow-off valve. So we're gonna go ahead and remove these two bolts. You can either leave the bolt and it'll just pull up with the charge pipe when you remove it, or you can grab a magnet to get it. Now I'm gonna either have to get under the car. If you have a lift the car up, you're gonna have to remove the blow-off valve from the intake inlet so you can pull the charge pipe up. All right, on the bottom side, you wanna remove the sensor by just pushing up on it. This is only on a 17 plus model, I believe. On 15 and 16, it's just a hose held on by a clip, so you remove that. Then you want to remove this hose, push up. Now you can access the clip that's holding the blow-off valve to the inlet. Just move the clip down, then remove the hose that's going to the blow-off valve. Now we can go back up and we should be able to pull the charge pipe out freely. All right, once you finish freeing up the blow-off valve from the inlet, just go ahead and give it a little tug. And you're going to want to remove the blow-off valve from the inlet and just pull up. Now you can remove your charge pipe, set it to the side. Next, you're going to want to remove these two hoses, and if it makes it easier for you, I'd probably zip tie them or maybe put some tape on it so you know where each one goes. But the way I remember is the one with the clamp always goes to the one that has a little yellow dot. Almost every car I've seen has this, so it's an easy way to identify it. If you mix them up, your car will run bad. Next, you're going to want to remove this clip right here from the manifold that's holding the main engine harness. It is really hard to access the other side to release it, so what I usually do is just get a set of pliers and pry away and just break the clip. And you won't be able to reuse it, so I would just pull the clip out, and later on I put a new zip tie there just to secure the main engine harness later. Now there's a hose that's under the intake manifold that you're going to want to remove. You can easily access it from the side, right between the runners. Just get a set of pliers, wiggle it, and just push it down. Now with the manifold being loose, you should have enough wiggle room to tilt it back. Now you have some room, you're going to want to remove these two harnesses. It's kind of tight. You go just set them to the side. Then you're going to want to remove these two hoses. You could pull it off either from the sensors or you could pull it off from the line. I'll just take it off from the sensor. Next, you're going to want to remove the two coolant lines that run to the throttle body, just held on by two clips. Push it back, just give it a wiggle. Just be able to push back. Then you have one more. free. Now we're almost done. The last thing you need to do is remove the fuel line. So the trick to remove the fuel line, there's two little tabs. You need to squeeze them and push forward. Once you do that, on this side it's going to come out a little bit, and I would get a small little pick and you can pull it out. And just pull the line out. And now we can remove our manifold. Alright, now we're going to want to remove the upper TGVs. Just unclip it. Set it to the side. And then now you want to remove the lower TGVs, which are held on by three 12mm bolts. Alright, you go for it. Yep. If you haven't done so already, this would be a good time to replace your TGVs for either the uppers or like one-piece TGVs. Now just pull up on your lower TGV. There you go. And when you remove these, there's two gaskets that go on the bottom. Sometimes they come out, so just make sure you have these there. You should want to repeat the same process on the other side. Clip the harness to the TGV, set it to the side, and 3mm bolts holding the lower TGV. This was a little tricky. You're gonna have to move the harness out the way to access it. Just pull up the lower TGV and remove it. You're actually gonna want to remove these dividers. There's one on each runner. Just set them to the side. Now we have access to our chambers. If you look inside, you can see the carbon buildup on the valves. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this cover to give me more space to work. Set it to the side. Same thing, remove the two dividers. Set them to the side. Alright, so now we're about to get to the actual walnut blasting. This is the walnuts that we use. You can get it from Harbor Freight. If you do so, just make sure that you get the fine grit walnut, not the other one, because the walnuts are too thick and it'll get stuck in your blaster. And this is the blaster that we're using. Alright, now we're about to get to the walnut blasting phase. Before you get started, I recommend you cap off all the hoses so that you don't get any walnut into any of the lines. Close off the two chambers with like some shop rags, or you can tape it as well on the two chambers that you're not doing. Now before you get started, you want to make sure that the valves are closed. If not, you're going to be dumping walnut right into your chamber. As you can see, it's kind of hard to see in there.
Around this good, yeah.
But these valves are already closed, so I'm going to start on this side. And if you need to close the side, what you can do is get a 19 and spin the crank until you close the valves.
So right here?
Right there. So once I'm done with this side, and I switch to the next side, I'm going to spin the crank so I can close that side. Alright, to do the water blasting, you're going to need one of these. I got this from SubiBros.com. I think it was like $60 for it. So go ahead, you're going to place it here and use a 12mm bolt to hold it down. Just line it up, tighten it down. Alright, now you're going to get your shop vac. You're going to put it into this hole right here. I recommend using some sort of cover because it's going to be rubbing against your paint. Now you're going to get your wand, you're going to put it into this hole. Turn your vacuum on. Start blasting. Clean out all the extra sand that's going to come out. So I'm setting up to do another pass. JJ tried to get in there as best as he could to show you the difference between the first pass that I did to see the difference. It's really tough position to get into to get a good shot. So now you want to just keep repeating this process until you clean all the carbon off the valve. Now we're going to spin the crank so I can close the other side. Can you see it or no?
Yeah, I see it. It's closing. Yep.
Alright, now check the back. Those are open now, right?
It's closing now.
Alright, now check the front. So, since these motors are DIT, direct injection, you get a lot of carbon buildup on the valves, as you've already seen. So over time, with enough buildup, it can affect the way your car runs. You can get poor gas mileage, poor performance, bad idle. So by cleaning up the valves, you can fix all those issues. So you go ahead and remove all the pieces of tape or gloves, whatever you use to cover all your hoses. All right, now we're gonna start the process of putting the manifold back in. So my install is gonna be slightly different from yours, but more or less, it'll be enough so you get a good understanding how to put it back together. On this customer's car, I'm installing a one-piece IBR TGV delete, so I'm gonna start with putting this back into place. TGV, make sure that the harness is out of the way. I'm gonna grab my 12 millimeter. So go ahead and tighten these up. Alright, so we're going to start putting our manifold back on. Just put it in place where it's going to go. Alright, let's tilt back. We're going to start with our fuel line. Make sure that you put it on the right nipple. It's going to be this one right here.
The left nipple.
The left nipple. Flip it and give it a nice tug to make sure that you secured it properly. Now let's put our coolant lines back on. Start with this coolant line. And it's going to apply so we can move the clip forward. Swing it on. Now let's get our next coolant line. Alright. Now we can move over to this side. We can start by connecting both these connections. Black on the left side, blue on the right. Make sure the clip. Now you tilt down and you want to put these hoses back in. They pretty much are in the same orientation they need to go back in, so it'll be easier to figure out. Just get them started and then tilt down on the manifold and push them into place. Alright, move these hoses out move all this out the way. Come down, and then these hoses push down. The one with the clip goes to the back one that has a little yellow mark. If your car starts running really bad, it's most likely because you mix these up. Now we have this hose over here. This hose, that hose right there. Back here, just get your connection for your throttle body. Go ahead and plug that back in. Make sure it clips. You have your map sensor. Go ahead and connect that back in. Like that. These two clips. Connect your crankcase breather back in to the block. Just gotta move the harness around a little bit. Install the evap line. fuel line. Clip it in, push in, give it a nice tug, make sure it's secure. Then you're gonna wanna bolt down your intake manifold. And then you wanna put your brake booster line back on. Clips here, right here, slide it right there. I'm not going to be reinstalling the top mount on this car because I'm doing a front mount intercooler. So that would be all that's left for you guys to finish up this procedure.
The battery. You will need it.
Yeah, you'll need to reinstall your battery if you want to start the car.
All right, guys, so that's it for the walnut blasting.
Get your nuts here!
So you guys can go ahead and give it a try at home. It may be a little rough. I recommend bringing it to WR Experts. Make sure to check them out on Instagram or Facebook at WR Experts Auto Works. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share it with a friend that might find it helpful, and see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Want to be on camera? So if you guys want the, what's it called? Walnut
Blast.
I was gonna say water nut. I don't know why. Okay, walnut.